Welcome, everybody, to the Let's Get Wicked podcast, where we talk about nothing but the game Villainous by Ravensburger. I'm your host, Joker Jonesy, and today we have a pretty awesome show lined up for all of you. I am very excited. First and foremost, though, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Headmaster Ditto. Ditto, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Got a nice mug of coffee here.
What's with the coffee? What is the preferred mug of choice to drink your coffee?
I've got this really nice 16-ounce Arctic travel mug. That you wouldn't think it, but this thing will keep your coffee hot for literally like 8 hours.
Oh, that's insane.
So if you don't have one and you love coffee, go get one. The stainless steel ones are super nice.
Gotcha. I am not a coffee drinker, so I think podcast from the podcast, Ditto talks about his coffee addiction. But after Ditto, we have a very special guest. We have Fabio Perez, aka the artist behind the Jafar deck in Disney Villainous. So first off, we're going to applaud. Thank you for being with us today. We are very excited to talk to you.
Thank you guys for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm just as excited. Not to take away from any of our other our guests that we've had on the show, but you are actually the first person on the show that has actually been involved with the making of Villainous in some shape or form, which is pretty
awesome. Yeah.
Yes, this is very exciting.
Finally get to have a behind-the-scenes view at this.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm most excited to ask. A lot of that cool stuff. This is gonna be slightly like a real interview today. Ditto, are you ready for this?
Let's go.
All right, you ready? All right, we're just gonna jump right into it, Fabio, if you don't mind. We got some questions boiled up, and we're just kind of go with the flow as we go.
All right.
So the first general one, as you are an artist, what got you into doing art? What got you into doing drawing?
Oh, that's a classic one. I don't know. Like, I always drew like my entire life, so it's in like first nature. It's not even second nature for me. But then, like, I was a kid, I always drew, but nothing like I never wanted to be a professional. I never had that in my mind. But then I started studying music. I went to college. I studied like a semester of music, and then I dropped. And then I didn't know what to do with my life. And then I said, okay, so I think I'm going to go with animation. I graduated in animation here in Brazil. And that led me to knowing some people and knowing some schools and some courses. And one thing led to another, and I'm here right now.
Wow.
I took a lot of courses.
Everybody goes into college thinking they want one thing and comes out with this complete 180 from the original plan.
Yeah. Like I wasn't sure, like, because when I went to college to study music, I was like, yeah, this is totally for me. But then when I got into, I was like, yeah, this is not for sure for me, because it was really, I felt like a really military vibe, because I went to a jazz college, and
I know
they
exactly
were
what you're
really
talking about.
Yeah, you guys saw Whiplash?
I don't know if I have or not.
I don't think I have.
No. So watch that movie.
Okay.
It's it tells a story of a drummer once you get into a jazz college, and it's like hell. And I felt the same way. Like, it was really, really heavy. And since jazz is an American type of music, I had some American teachers as well, and they were really, really picky, And I was like, yeah, for sure, that's not for me.
Yep, I couldn't do jazz either.
That is really interesting. You two share a very similar, because was it Ditto? You studied music a little bit, didn't you?
I actually half my degrees in music.
Nice.
Oh, you graduated?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Half music, half computer science. So,
Wow. That's all right. Learning something new every day.
I
Ditto
envy
and I
you.
share half of our degrees.
believe me, there's nothing to envy.
It's funny though, because like I can relate a little bit on the degree changing thing, because I do have my degree in what is called informatics, which if you don't know what
Mhm.
that is, essentially the way I describe it is computer psychology. And but at the end of the day, I just wanted to be a teacher. You know, that's all I wanted to do. So when I was getting my graduate degree, I spent all of my time just studying education, and like all I ended up doing was taking my degree and applying it to the education sphere. So I guess I got to ask is like, so with the music and when you went into animation, so obviously, do you still do animation work, or are you mainly focused on art now?
No, I'm just an illustrator and concept artist. But I graduated in animation, but I'm the worst guy you can find to animate anything you want, because I didn't learn anything at college, because it was like I was the first class in animation in that college. That's why I didn't learn anything.
Wow. Wow.
I can kind of relate to that because the exact degree program I had to go through to get my hybrid degree, I was the first in my class to go through that program.
Wow.
And they were all lost and didn't know what to do. I had some borrowed teachers from other courses, and I didn't learn I think it's 12 uh, fundamentals of animation.
Yep.
So I didn't learn that. I know them, but I don't know how to do, because it was like tradition animation, and it was like really, really. I don't know. Everybody was lost, Me too.
Yeah.
Did you use Flash when you were learning animation? I have to
Sorry.
ask. Did you use Flash from Adobe when you were doing animation at all?
No, actually, I didn't. I didn't use anything. Like, I just did some storyboarding classes, some sculpting classes, and some weird shit.
That's funny.
Like I don't know. I'm not sure how to say this in English, but is it contemporary dance? Modern dance.
I have no idea. I took a little animation in
certain.
college too. And this is so weird. It's just amazing how similar backgrounds all three of us have, and we just
No
like
joke.
had this conversation. With that, I guess we'll go into the next portion of this. So after you got done with your degree, you obviously had some connections. You started drawing and stuff. Like, how long have you been doing just drawing for a living?
Oh, it started in 2017.
Really?
You're fresh off the block then.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was like I was teaching English in 2016, and then I got fired because it was really I wasn't really liking that place. Everybody was really toxic, and then
Relatable.
but I was afraid of quitting my job, so I waited till they fired me, and then I had no other plan. And then I was like, yeah, okay, now it's time to go full time working on this and honing my skills, so I can get like some money at least.
No kidding.
Wow.
And then I started, because of my animation background. I wasn't like I was really unhappy with the situation I was living at that time, and then I was like, okay, so I'm gonna take some courses to know at least something, so I can do other stuff, you know. And then that thing went really, really good for me because I took some fundamental drawing classes, live drawing classes, digital painting classes, and then some. I don't know if you guys know, but schoolism, brainstorm school, uh, all that LA stuff. And
Most of it.
then it was really, really, really quick for me, you know, because it was. I think it took me like 3 years studying that fundamentals stuff, the basics, and then I got a job in advertisement, and I stayed a year, a whole year, doing stuff for Ford and Smirnoff, stuff like this. You know, really for Facebook, all social medias, and then I was really unhappy again because I was like, yeah, I study all that stuff, all that fantasy stuff, all that digital painting stuff to do like a box of Smirnoff. That's really bad, you know, like
Yep.
it's a really bad use of my skills.
A little unfortunate, yeah. I
Yeah.
can understand.
I was like, okay, so I have to get an international job as soon as I can. And then I got the first one was like really bad as well. You know, so my story is a really sad story, guys. So just for you guys
Or
know.
it's more uplifting. We'll get to the fun stuff.
Yeah. And then I got my first international job. It was like a French guy or a French studio. I'm not sure. But I was really, really a beginner. So I didn't know how to manage all these areas, you know, like talking to clients and how do I present my work to him? Like, is it good enough? Do I go straight to color? Do I sketch before? And then he got really, really, really frustrated and really angry at me because I didn't know this basic stuff, and he just like cut me out.
Dang.
I completely
That's
relate
unfortunate.
because I remember going through because I'm a web developer by trade, and one of the reasons why I tell people I went to teach is because a lot of my first jobs were freelancing. And what you're describing right now is literally some of the same stuff I went through where I did freelance work, didn't have a lot of direction. And I remember, I will not name the people I was working with, but one of my first big website design jobs, I basically rebuilt this entire management system. So like the way this freelance company did like management work with their clients. And guess how much I got paid? $80. $80 in American dollars.
Really? $8?
Yeah, 80. 80.
Oh, 80.
80 for about 10 hours of work. And at this point I was a professional and I was like, no. And that's when I learned about contracts and how you write the contracts. So
but let me ask you one thing. Like, since the beginning, you count how like the hours that you work in a project?
Oh yeah, no, when I was just a little behind the scenes for web developers out there. When I was going through school, my web instructor basically told me that like once you have a degree and you have a decent amount of experience under your belt for like a basic like web like site that's like 5 pages that doesn't have any like real interactivity on it, you should be getting paid around like $1,000 to $3,000 depending on the scope. And then if it's a very interactive website, it should be about $3,000 or about $5,000. And I was trying to say, and like it was like one of my first big projects, so I was kind of like lowballing it for like $1,000. And the guy's like, we'll pay you $10 an hour. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, didn't work with them again. Ever. He contacted me several times afterwards.
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, it was bad. It really, but luckily I still wanted to teach it somehow. I don't know why, but I enjoy it very much so.
Yeah, me too. That's really good to see, to help somebody and see them growing,
Exactly.
developing.
No, so it's honestly why I like this game so much is the fact that there's this growth factor when you're learning it. I very much
Oh,
relate to
totally.
that.
And
Yeah.
that's a skill too.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess the next question we want to ask you is, so we know so funny. Talk about how you did stuff for Ford at Smirnoff. What is some of the more fun stuff you got to work on? That's what we want to talk about because I know you've done some other work besides, for other games. Put it that way.
Oh, the first job that I got was really, really weird. I don't even know how to explain. It was like for medicine, and it was like for a hospital, and it
Oh,
was for publicity as well, advertisement, all this stuff. But I had to make a storyboard for and the paintings because it was an animated video, and it was like how do you call them? Uh, the girls who take pills to control birth.
birth control. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was
I-
something related to that, and it was like I had to, like, my first job officially was to draw a uterus.
Yeah.
Uterus.
Oh my God.
That's a great place to start.
I had to paint like and give volume to all that stuff, and it was really weird.
That was better than doing
Yeah.
Smirnoff commercials, right?
Yeah, but I was really excited because it was like, yeah, man, I got into, like my first job, and I'm getting paid to paint and to draw, like, and I was earning much more money than teaching English, and like, okay, so if this is the job, I mean,
That's great. What a story. Oh my
but
God.
let me see other stuff that I did. It was like, uh, all the basics, I I've done caricature. What else? I don't remember as well, but late after that, things started to get better. I was hired by Hacks. Hacks,
Yeah.
Yes.
Hacks, and Fantasy Flight Games to
Yeah, FFT,
Keyforge,
Yeah.
That's
and
the
I'm
one.
still with them. Working with them because I really like. Actually, I'm not really. I've never played Keyforge, but I really like their briefings for the images. So it's really fun doing stuff
Yes.
for them. And then I started doing stuff for uh, Volta in Canada, and then Disney, Marvel. What else I have now? Oh, I'm not sure if I can say this, but yeah, I don't think that's a problem. But I'm working on Free Fire now.
Nice.
Some cinematics for Free Fire, and what else? Yeah, some other minor clients like other card games and RPG stuff.
But what is it? So like every time, so like after you did the hospital piece, the other companies and such, they just started just coming in, like they started like rolling in like each one like FFG stuff like that.
The time that I was doing the hospital stuff, I'm not sure how to call it. I was doing some personal projects aside, so I could get a better portfolio, so I could present to those companies. And I think that it was some pieces some personal projects that I did. I did a pirate image that went a little bit viral here in São Paulo, Brazil, and then I think it helped me a lot to call attention of some companies. So some Brazilian companies, and I got hired for that and for doing some other images because aside doing the image itself, I did some concepts, and all the companies here in Brazil, and I think it's like everywhere. It's normal. They really like to see the process of it and to see the concepts, the sketches that you did before getting to the final image.
All right. I think we get into the meat of the show now. Let's talk some Disney villainous. Are you ready? So I guess the first question is how did the opportunity spring up, and how were you approached with doing Jafar? With because we don't actually know the official process of because obviously Ravensburger is the publisher, Prospero Hall was the actual development studio of the game. How was the process of going to we want to offer you this job to work on this Disney game, and then you're gonna do Jafar? Let's start there.
Yeah, they didn't look for me actually.
Interesting.
They were calling my friend, Gabriel Rubio. He's my friend. He's really good. I'm not sure if I can say what he's working on, but he's really, really good. And
we'll keep it there.
Yeah. And then he wasn't available, so he just asked me, "Oh, you want that job?" I was like, "Yeah, for sure. It's like Disney." And then they sent me an email saying "Yeah, so Gabriel said that you were available, and we want you to do a deck for us." And it was really simple. It's nothing that special or different from any kind of job,
Right. Okay. And
it was they were just at first they said that they had this I'm not, I don't remember exactly what was were the decks, so it was Jafar, what else do you guys remember?
yeah, so in the course, so I don't necessarily know how they approached you with the project, so I take this all with a grain of salt, because we obviously know the development was probably all around the same time with all the different characters. But the core set included Jafar, Captain Hook, Prince John, Maleficent, Ursula, and Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, they just told me that these were the decks that they had, and I didn't pick, they just picked for me, and it was yeah, okay, so let's go, let's get into that.
So they actually picked Jafar for you, so you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, that's the way they, at least the 2 times that I worked with them, they did that way.
Okay, interesting.
But I think that's if you were a famous guy, in the same game that I worked on. I don't know if you guys know Jason King.
I don't think we do.
Oh.
Okay, so he's a really, really famous illustrator. He has worked for a Blizzard. I'm not sure. Oh, Magic, The Gathering.
Wow.
And when you are this type of guy, really, really big, I think that they let you pick what deck you want.
I gotcha. This is still a big deal, though. You
Oh
got to work
yeah,
on
so
Disney projects.
he's one of my heroes, and I worked with him in this project, so it was really, really cool for me.
Right.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
But one thing that happened, it was at first they presented me 32 cards for me to do, and then they dropped for for 30, I think. So I did 30 cards for them, but it was it was really difficult for me at the time because I was working on other projects as well. I was doing some concept art for the entire game, so I was doing characters, props, environment, at the same time that I was painting my cards. So I was managing really bad my time. at that time. And then that's why I think that I don't like that much my cards, even like more now than then. I don't like my cards. I think that I could have done much better than what I did. But I think that everybody thinks that way, you know? Like everybody thinks that, oh yeah, I could have done better if I had more time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's part of being an art, like in an art field of any type. Like, even if you're a creative person, is that you always like, even after it's done, you don't feel like it's done.
Yeah, there's always
Oh,
room to
totally.
fix it.
Yeah. It's funny. It's so interesting. Ditto, do you have anything to add with that before we go to the next question?
Not really. I think we're good.
Think you're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to ask you guys one thing
Go for it.
because I don't know that much about these villainous games.
Okay.
And because, it's a fun fact, I have the board game because they gave me one, but since then I didn't have much time to play it.
Wow,
And
so you're
sometimes
busy.
I forget. Even forget that I have the game with me. So I've never played, but it seems for me that it's a really big deal, isn't it? This game, because you guys are not the first one to be a really hardcore fan of the game that I see. So is it a really a big
Ditto, do you
deal,
want to
like
speak for
really
me on
big
that one?
game?
Um, it's a matter of finding the right audience. Um, it's one of those situations where it's such a niche group of people that as soon as you find any of them, you think, "Oh wow, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be."
Yeah.
But it's definitely making its waves. Like this game ended up being a lot bigger than I think even Ravensburger really planned on it being.
No. Yeah. I agree. I mean, like, to give you some perspective, like, so they just released their newest expansion for Disney Villainous in March, and it sold out. Now, granted, there is this thing called the pandemic going on, but
Mhm.
compared to the previous two expansions that have came out in the past year, when those expansions came out, they never sold out. Like obviously stock goes low and then they restock and all that stuff, but this was the first time one of the expansions for the game is completely sold out. Like within the first month of its release, like period. Like I don't ditto. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even think within 2 weeks of it being released, you can get anything online.
It sounds right to me.
Yeah, that wasn't normal with the other
Up
two.
and disappeared like immediately.
Yeah, it's like insane.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's incredible, like how much traction this game has gotten, and obviously it's not just because of us. I mean, like I feel like us as a community have helped definitely spread the word a little bit more about the game, but I think the fact that we've talked about this before on the show that Prospero took a lot of effort into obviously hiring folks like you folks to do the art for this game that makes the game feel thematic, as well as has some really good mechanics for both people that are brand new to tabletop games, as well
Okay.
as people who are veterans. It caters to every audience possible, and it helps that it's Disney. And everyone under the sun enjoys something about Disney one way or the other, whether it's one or two movies or the entirety of every single thing Disney ever puts out. And plus, people like games, and I think it just shows how much, like, even if you're not like a huge fan of Disney, because I wouldn't even say Disney is one of my top fandoms, but like I am definitely in love with this game. Like, it's why we have a podcast.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because the first guy that I saw uh who really liked the game, it was like a really hardcore fan and really wanted to work for them, and uh like went to me and said like, you gotta help me get a job with them because I had all the board games and I really liked them. And he, every time that he posts another image on his Instagram, he mentions Ravensburger and Disney Villainous. all this stuff, which I don't think that's a good idea. But he was crazy about the game, and I was like, really? Like, I didn't know that was that big project, I was working on. And now I see you guys with the podcast and was like, yeah, so for sure, that's a big deal.
Slightly big deal.
Oh, like I say that because, you guys are the first one to ask me to do an interview. I've never spoken in an interview before.
This is the first time I've conducted one, so it's a first experience for all of us.
Yeah,
new groundbreaking.
Yeah, totally. So that's what I was asking, But are you guys really fan of other tabletop games?
Oh yeah. I mean, was it for me? Like my biggest games that I enjoy are like Star Wars Destiny, which is a game by Fantasy Flight Games. I am a really big fan of Root by Letter Games. Their artwork in that game is fantastic. I also like a lot simpler games. I do like Machikoro, King of Tokyo. And there's all sorts of stuff. Ticket to Ride. I can go on and on forever. I could tell people about my Monopoly.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I know Ditto actually has a little bit more trading card experience.
The only tabletop game that I've played, it was like Zombicide.
Oh yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah,
I've heard of that one.
No, yeah, it's good.
But just gonna go ahead and throw this in as a little stinger. I thought I was in it that knew what Maki.
Oh really?
So didn't realize that.
Yeah, Machikoro is a pretty big deal. At least I mean, from a casual gamer standpoint, like it's one of those games where, like, how Ravensburger talks about how they want to put this on like Walmart and Targets. Machikoro is that type of game. They actually made a simpler version of that game too, believe it or not. And it's still fun, which is insane. But yeah, no, it's incredible to think about, like, the world that games can like bring people together with different backgrounds. Like obviously all three of us, we share a little teaching, but we all come from a little bit of a different background, although we do have some connections. But games in general just bring people together, and allow us to talk about it in a different way. And that's why we do a show like this.
Oh, yeah. I've never thought that way. It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. Wow. This is going well. I'm really digging this conversation. This is taking turns I was not expecting. It's been great.
Yeah, because I want to ask you questions as well, so that's why.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad you wanted to. Just like how I found out what Ditto's degree is today.
Ding. Ding. In case anybody ever needed to know that.
I'm learning so much more about Ditto as the weeks go by. It's pretty nuts. I do want to continue a little bit with some of the process questions, if you don't mind.
All right, yeah, no problem.
Specific ones. So when it came to doing the artwork for this game, how we know it was a little unique because so they said that, so obviously they said they had, went from 32 to 30 cards. And so that means, did they provide you 30 stills of images from the movie?
Yeah.
Is that what they did?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And they had like to give me all the images, and with that, what do you guys call that? The bleeding, the space that you have to cut.
Oh, so like the card cut. I know what you're talking about. The card cut space. I know.
Yeah. So they had to give me the image, like the screen cap of the movie with that frame, so I can I had to do the entire image, but I had to focus my painting in my details inside that frame. So it could, like, yeah, for sure, we're not cutting anything that is really good. But there was a card. I think it was like the Guardian. I'm not
If you tell us what
Sure.
it's supposed to look like, I can tell. I have the reference up just to let you know. So
Oh, it's like a hand holding a sword.
oh yeah, it's our favorite card in Jafar's deck. Let me tell you.
Oh, really?
I'm saying that sarcastically because it's definitely like one of the cards we don't want. Um,
Okay.
well, we won't get into the meta behind that, but yeah, it's the sword, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, actually, that image was like just like the movie when all the how do you call it, guardians?
Yeah, or all the palace guards, I think is what it was.
Yeah, in the movie they all are holding up their swords, and I was like, yeah, so it's really busy. The image is really busy for me to see in a card. Like it's really small. So
Right.
yeah, and the art director said like, yeah, so let's cut it out everything and just focus on one hand because it's gonna convey the same meaning that we want to.
Interesting.
And yeah, but telling about the whole process, they did like I had to give them all these sketches first. In the beginning, I had to like everybody else. I did a test for them, which was the Jafar disguised as a node man.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that was my first image that I did for them, and I did in one day because I was really hyped. Like yeah, I have to get this job. So
I love the art on that card.
yeah,
I
and
know
I
what you're
think
talking
it's my
about.
best art, for that deck. And after that, that I made the test, they said like, okay, so you have to um deliver all the sketches first, and then we are gonna approve it everything, and then you have to paint everything, and all this process. I had to talk with the director of. At the time, it was like Forest Prison,
Okay.
the name of the company. Not, it wasn't Ravensburger, and I had to deal with the. Sorry.
I know what you're talking about because technically this game was published under Wonderforge before it got bought by Ravensburger.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to deal with the art director of that company first, and then after everything is completed, all the images goes to Disney, and I talk to a character designer or some stuff like
Okay.
that, and everything like he checks everything in. Yeah, okay, so change that. This should be wider. This should be no, this line is really angular. You have to make it a little bit more round, and you have to like just change some minor stuff, not the entire image, and some lighting, color stuff, and after that it's done. Which for me personally, I don't like that. I think that the art director of Forest Prison, not I'm not talking directly about Forest Prison or Ravensburger. I'm talking about every company that does that. I think that the art director of the disconnecting company should talk to the end client,
That makes sense. No, I get it.
Yeah.
because it goes much faster. Like now I have to change everything that the final client wants me to do. Why didn't he say that before? So I could like correct that in the sketch phase, the sketch phase.
I love clients. They are my
Right.
best friend.
No, but
No.
aside from that, it was a really good project. Like they were really, really kind with me. Really, everybody in there treated me like really, really good.
Awesome. I'm really glad. That's really cool. I appreciate the fact knowing that the people behind the development were treating you with obviously with critique, but also with respect.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
obviously you
totally.
want to work with them again, you know, which is nice to know. Um, it's super rad. I have to ask when it's so because I looked at your art station with some of the artwork on it. So some little things I noticed, like on the main Jafar portrait, the
Mhm.
bird Iago is not on his shoulder anymore compared to what's on his what's on your art station. Do you remember that at all?
Oh no.
No, yeah.
No.
So on the portrait, so just to let you know, because I know you aren't super familiar with the game. So there was a character guide as well as there's a portrait of the character that's just like the main character, so like Jafar. And then
Oh
on
yeah,
your
but
art
I
station,
didn't notice that. I didn't notice that.
yeah, no, yeah, on your art station, you have the same portrait, but you have the bird Iago on his shoulder. So
Oh my
I didn't
god, I didn't
know.
know that.
Yeah, I didn't know if maybe there was something you can talk about with that because that was like I was looking through some of the art that you had up compared to some of the other what was
Mhm.
it, some of the other stuff, and it didn't seem like there was really a lot of change compared to what was presented. Obviously, maybe just like a full like splash of the art, like not like in the card parameters, but like the full like a high res wallpaper type of ordeal. That was the only one that I saw change. I assume there was probably other
Oh yeah, and
changes.
I didn't even know that. I saw the game, but I didn't notice that.
Interesting.
You know,
Okay.
but actually, it was just like that. You said, just like you said, they just wanted me to correct some minor changes because they didn't have much time to complete the project, so I couldn't make some major changes. So
How long were you
because
working on this? Like,
sorry.
how long were you working on this thing since you said there was a time constraint? Like, how long did you work on the project?
Oh, I think it was like 2 months, something like this, or 1 month and a half, something like this.
That seems
Like,
kind of short. Is that
yeah,
short? Okay. Interesting.
it's like if you mess up in one image, you almost you almost don't have time for like doing again. So you have to be really sure that you were doing the correct stuff. So you have a decent amount of time to do that,
Interesting.
because it was like almost one card. Yeah, it was almost one card a day.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's like start like because you said you had all the sketches done, and then what was it? Basically, every day you would take the sketch and fully illustrate it, and then put it through for feedback. And it,
Yeah.
wow, holy crap!
Yeah. So
Yeah, no kidding.
Woo!
yeah. At the same time, you have to remember that at the same time I was working on other projects, so it was
Woo!
really, really like I was working
Tight.
at that time. I was working like for 14 hours a day,
Oh my god!
something like that.
Woo!
I've done that before, and I really don't care to do it again.
That is crunch if I've ever heard of it. Oh my! But I have to say though, even it's so funny that you say that because I have all the card artwork pulled up in front of me, and
Mhm.
I still think all of it is marvelous. I really do. I don't think at the job that you put together on these, at least for Jafar's deck. I mean, if you can, yeah, I know you can't really say anything else,
Oh yeah, thank
but
you.
this artwork is still very well done. You know, I have I have a friend of mine that is local to me. His favorite villain of all time is Jafar, and the first time I showed him this game, he's like, "Oh my god, the artwork is awesome!" And he's like,
Oh my god.
these look like the movie," and I'm like, "It's because it's a new artwork based off the stills from the movie," and I was like, "I'm gonna interview the guy." And are you serious? And I'm like, "Yes, I am." So it's cool to see that your artwork actually just like made someone really excited to play this game because this is
Oh
their
yeah,
game.
that made me really, really happy.
Yeah. Um,
And one thing that I didn't mention, they wanted me to. I didn't. Uh, how to say this? I didn't copy exactly the image of the movie. They said
yeah.
that I had to change a little bit to make it a little bit spookier and a little bit on my style. So I really like
That
this
makes sense.
pointy. this pointy
Yeah.
stuff, or some other shapes, because
Well, that makes
I'm
sense
not.
because you're kind of having to
Oh,
look at the movie from a different perspective in a way.
yeah,
Uh, I like that. That's a neat little detail.
That's
yeah. I
cool.
was trying to push this the Disney style into what I like. So, and what I like is the other images on my art station. It's like a really. I'm not going to state that it's like I try to convey a really blizzardy feel, that really low poly uh, kind of style.
It's very apparent. It's funny that you bring up the dark stuff because overall the one of the themes I've seen throughout the villainous artwork, even from some of the brighter moments and this is in all the cards, not just the Jafar deck, all of them, is they do definitely have this darker tone, even with like the hero cards compared to like what you remember from the movie. Was that like part of the art direction that they gave you, where they were like, since you're designing technically villains artwork, you had to make it darker? Was that something that they talked about?
Oh, not darker, but spookier.
Spook.
They said, yeah, they said just like, uh, um, one card that I'm not going to remember as well the name, but it's like just a portrait of a chubby guy, and
Oh, it's probably, I'm
Name,
thinking
if I had to guess,
it's what, the Sultan, right?
or the Sultan.
Yeah.
I made like a shadow casting on his face, like covering his eyes to make it spookier and a little bit more mysterious. And they said like, yeah, you're like crossing the line. You should go back a little bit and just work
Wow.
on the colors, but you don't need to make it really spooky. It's just a little bit spookier.
Interesting. Okay. That's a cool little
Okay.
tidbit, that a little behind the art
So
direct.
that is definitely they want you to make it just a little bit. Uh, they don't want to stick with the Disney style because it's too like bright and
Right.
happy, but they want you to feel that um yeah, that spooky, a little bit dark and heavy vibe as well, because
It's
that's the signature of the game, right?
Yeah. No, it's really interesting that you say that, because like I'm taking a look at your cards right now, and there's looking with that set of like eyes, I can see it very well, like what they were trying to convey with you saying like spooky. A lot of the cards like that I would normally like when you've seen like the Disney film, like, because one of the big trademarks of Disney films is the fact that it's very saturated, very high hue, that type of thing. Even like dark moments are still bright colors. A lot of it's almost like there's a realistic approach to it, because like what you were talking about with the
Yep.
shadows, where
Hmm.
there's like a realistic lighting in the moment, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yep, totally. That's why in my that Jafar disguised as a node guy, he like there's a green light casting on his face and on his back because I wanted
Yep.
to
I see
convey
it.
this spooky, and it's really like how do I say this, like movie type of lighting to convey that spooky feeling.
Right.
Yeah. That is really cool. Oh, that is dope. That's some cool insight behind that. Wow. Um, so you said that the old guy was your favorite art to do, or you feel like is your best art. Was there another one that you remember that was
Oh, let me see here. Oh, the hourglass. I really like, not the coins, not the sea of coins. I don't like that. But yeah, I really like the simple shape of the hourglass and how I rendered the image.
was it Ditto? Do you have a favorite piece from Jafar?
Rob, and this is gonna seem a little silly, but I kind of like the Wish artwork.
Oh, was it so
Uh,
for reference, it's the picture
this
with Genie
genie.
with his three fingers.
Uh, I don't know. I just love that entire sequence from the movie, and uh, It just looks nice. It's just nice.
It is nice. I am a Genie fan myself. My favorite art from this deck is particularly Genie, and I really like the Scarab pendant where it's got like the glowing portion of the pendant around it, and
Mm-hmm.
I also love Iago the bird himself. I think when you point out the lighting aspect of this deck or like with this artwork in general, I really see it in that card in particular because like that's a character that is supposed to be very like bright because it's Guilford Godfrey. He's that character. And like his lighting on him is very subdued. And it definitely shows off that spooky feeling that I feel like you were really trying to nail, and it's very apparent, which is really cool.
Yeah. Aside from that, I always had this problem when I'm painting. I tend to paint really dark, like even if I'm not working for Disney Villainous.
I got you.
And they were like, yeah, so don't make it too dark, just a little bit. That's why some cars they had to like make big changes with me. And but another stuff that they were trying to change, they didn't want me to paint to render the image just like to make it feel like a really 3D model. Like they were like, yeah, don't make it really round. You just have to render just a little bit more than the movie, just to like we can see which material you're using and or stuff like that, just so we can see the temperature of the light and the material, stuff like that.
That's understandable because I know you don't completely know the reference of the cards, but so like each villain has like a standout color with them. And Jafar is the only character, except for one other, but the other one's not as dark. Jafar is the only one that has a black um base to all of his cards and his board. Like it's like straight like 000 hex code black, basically. I think it's a little lighter than that, but like not.
It's got a real dark red to it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that probably makes a lot of sense because I know from like visual, like gotta be careful sometimes when you use those colors together with imagery because it can mess around with stuff. But he's definitely a dark character, put it that way. Wow. Is there any other little comments you want to make about?
About the game, the
Yeah,
process.
just working on the artwork for Jafar.
Oh, actually, I'm trying to remember stuff because I forgot almost everything that happened
Well,
at
if you
that
said
time.
you were working on
Fair.
this for a long
You're just
time,
going so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was a lot of images in a short amount of time, and I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing really like as I should.
I
So
mean,
but it
was
was like
to
to
right when
sorry.
you did this in 2017 too, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
It was like December of 2017.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, this has been really cool. Ditto, do you have any other questions you would like to ask? I know I've kind of done a lot of the question asking.
I think we've covered just about everything.
And wow. Okay. Um, I think that's all I have from my end. Fabio, is there anything else you would like to talk about
I
with
would like
us?
to know what Yeah, I would like to know one thing about you guys.
Sure.
Yeah, so which villain is your favorite?
Ooh. Well, mine is Scar from the Lion King is my favorite villain to play in the game.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I am a very big Lion King fan. So that when
Everybody should be.
yeah, I tell the story on the podcast how I I wrote this game off, and this is probably why you might not have been super familiar with it either, is because this is the first tabletop Disney game that is like good, like really, really, really good. And I, even with hearing that, I kind of wrote it off. But when I found out Scar was coming, I was like, I have to. And then I jumped in, and I was like, yes. He's my absolute favorite character in this game. Followed right behind Dr. Facilier from the Princess and the Frog.
Oh, that's a good one as well.
Ditto?
I basically have two answers here.
Go for it.
Favorite to play, definitely Pete. Favorite just as a character, Hades. Easy.
God. Oh, God. Bless your soul. That's Fabio, for your information in the community, Ace is considered one of the most underpowered characters in the game, put it that way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a little unfortunate.
Yeah. It's funny too, because Hades is like one of the characters usually people pick up to play when they first are introduced in the game if he's available. Because he's such an easy villain to like understand what to do. But when you're playing as him at like a more competitive understanding of the game, he's a little more difficult. So is Scar too, by the way. Scar is also not an easy character to pick up and play, which is kind of funny. That the two easy, straightforward, probably popular villains are not easy to win with.
But the mechanics change from a villain to another?
There's no like it's not like Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that where it's like a team. Like you can like after a game is finished, you can change a different character. But like during a game, you can't switch, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's our favorite villains to play. I could go on and on about Scar, but we can save that for another day. Let's see. But yeah. Any other questions?
Since I didn't play the game, I only like to choose my favorite villain based on how pretty the cards are. And
Right.
I think that Captain Hook is really good.
Oh yeah.
It's made by my friend Lucas Torquato.
Ooh.
And he's really, really good. I took some classes from him.
Ooh,
He's really good. And obviously, what is called? I'm not sure. I don't know the name in English.
which character? Or what
The character of the cover of the box.
Oh, Maleficent.
Yeah, Maleficent. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I love those cards. And Captain Hook as well.
Yeah,
that's
agree.
fair.
I agree.
You guys should invite my friend to talk about Captain Hook.
We would love
Yeah,
to do
totally.
Maybe so.
That would be really good.
One of the things I actually wanted to do on the show at some point was actually just overall talk about art in the game. I mean, we've had the pleasure of talking with you, but we want to actually dive a little deeper into like kind of the like how the art makes us feel and like what's our favorite pieces from the game entirely and like why and stuff like that. Because I really enjoy art. But fun fact for everybody, I'm a big fan of glass art. So when you go to Seattle and you go to the Glass Garden Museum, I'm a big fan of that stuff. I really like the way art makes me feel.
That's totally.
Yeah. And this game has helped make me appreciate art a little bit more too.
You said that you like glass art?
Yeah, the glass blowing and
It's
stuff.
like, oh yeah. I've watched what is called Blown Up or something like this on Netflix. Did you see?
I think I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh, it was really, really good. Really good. Like I didn't even know that existed, and it's really good. Like it caught me off guard, and I really like that.
Wow, that's
I've always been a fan of like the Forged in Fire kind of stuff, so similar concept.
It's one of the things I would really like to do at some point in my life is do glass blowing. And
Yeah, you're gonna sweat a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I figured.
No
Don't
kidding.
worry. As I gotten older, I've gotten sweatier, so it's fine. But anything else? Is that it?
Yeah.
I think we've had a show. This has been really good. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on.
I really appreciate you guys for inviting me. Hero, I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, I hope this has been enjoyable. This has been a really interesting experience. We've learned a lot, and actually, I'm now going to take what you talked about with some of the art direction and some of the other things, and kind of like look at some of the cards and kind of relate a little bit to what you talked about. But yeah, this is
Cool.
really awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Before we go, where can people find you if they want to go check out your stuff? This is the time for you to plug.
All right. On my ArtStation, artstation.com/Fabio Perez. And on Instagram, it's like Fabio. It's like double A, you know, Fabio Perez. And that's it. Like I only use Instagram and ArtStation.
I was looking at some other ArtStation stuff the past 2 weeks because I was looking at some teasers for some new Crash Bandicoot game stuff, and I actually really dig what ArtStation is. It's pretty dope.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I really dig it. But okay, well, I think we'll wrap up the show. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Fabio, for joining us. I really appreciate it. We would love to have you back on at some point.
Totally. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, seriously. But until then, everyone, hope you enjoy listening to us talk about art. And until next time, stay wicked.